Hey, welcome back everyone for some more Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. And we are ready to begin day 2 of the trial in the case against famed astronaut Solomon Starbuck. And we uncovered quite a bit in the last episode. If you guys did not watch it, I would highly recommend doing so, because now we're going to present what we found during the investigation in today's trial. Hopefully we can get a not guilty verdict for Mr. Starbuck. But before we carry on, hope you guys have an awesome day today. Hope you guys doing well. So without further ado, let's begin day 2 of the trial. December 20th, 10:15 a.m. District Court. Courtroom number 5. Day 2. Court is now in session. All rise. I suppose we should reconvene the trial of Solomon Starbuck or something?
Objection!
Your Honor? Could you please come out from under your bench? There are no more bombs, I promise. Oh, yes, my apologies. I'm still a little jumpy when it comes to trials involving bombs. I mean, first courtroom exploded. And then Mr. Tanate's self-destructed. I guess that's one way of describing what happened to Tanate. Anyway, it seems that Mr. Justice was seriously wounded by Mr. Tanate's actions, so you, Mr. Wright, will be taking up the defense? Do you have an understanding of what has happened in the trial so far? Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready. Very well. Is the prosecution also ready? I take it you'd like me to give the opening statement this time? Looks like the judge has become a pretty good mind reader. Well, he certainly seems more than his fair share of colorful prosecutors. You could say he's something of a veteran of sorts. Let's see. In the previous part of this trial, we learned that the victim, Clay Tarrant, escaped from Launch Pad 1 carrying the defendant, Solomon Starbuck. There were explosions on the second floor of the Space Center on the rocket itself. The two astronauts used the Launch Pad 1 corridor to reach the boarding lounge. And how could the victim climb down the ladder he was carrying the defendant? That was the mystery that needed to be solved. But Mr. Justice proved that the victim was killed at the boarding lounge. Prosecutor Blackwell, were you able to discover any new facts related to this point? Upon further investigation, we discovered an oxygen tank fragment in the lounge. Surprisingly, it would appear that Justice Dono's argument was correct. So that means the testimonies to the first two people on the scene are suspect. There were two people who claimed to be first on the scene, but can we truly trust their statements? Let's see, the two people were Detective Candace Arm and Yuri Cosmos, right? You think one of them might have given a false statement to the police? Yes, it's certainly possible. We're gonna have to do a little more digging. And just as our team was about to cross-examine Detective Arm, the courtroom bombing incident occurred, and the trial was put on hold. That accursed fellow, he killed my witness. He killed Detective Arm. He definitely put the kibosh on anyone asking her about what she saw. Exactly. In other words, the question of who killed the victim in the boarding lounge has, once again, become the main focus of this trial. It's obvious Prosecutor Blackwell still thinks it was Mr. Starbuck. Fulbright said that Blackwell has a thing against the astronaut. Nevertheless, the defense argues there was a third person in the lounge, and that's who killed the victim.
Objection!
To make such reckless claims in a courtroom takes a bold man, or a stupid one. There was no third person in the boarding lounge. Or have you gone dotty already, old man?
Objection!
We'll see who's the dotard after I trounce you with my years of experience, little boy. Oh my god. In any case, Mr. Starbuck claims he saw someone leaving the lounge. Furthermore, a Space Center employee also saw a suspicious figure at the scene. They saw a third person? I see my sister has been running her mouth. That's right, I almost forgot that Dora is Prosecutor Blackwell's sister. No matter, she didn't see this mystery person's face clearly. Therefore, there is no evidence to indicate that this person was not defendant. Guess the possibility the figure with Mr. Starbuck is still there. In brief, we need to determine if a third person was there or not. To this end, we should hear the testimony of one of the first people on the scene. Director Cosmos, huh? Very well. Bailiff, please bring the witness to the stand. Why, I believe I've seen you before in the newspapers. Of course you have, for I'm Yuri Cosmos, director of the Cosmos Space Center, which was of course named after me, Yuri Cosmos. Don't you have anything you wish to ask me? Looks like he's all geared up to do some bragging. 7 years ago, I successfully launched the Hat-1 and... Everyone already knows how brilliant you are. Even I am trying to hold back my tears at seeing such a great man standing before me. So could you please proceed directly to your important testimony? I see this fine young lad has a proper appreciation of greatness. Now allow me to begin my epochal testimony that will be recorded in the annals of history. That speech past you Black Rose just now, it sounded more to me like he was poking fun at Director Cosmos. Probably for the best that it sailed right over the director's head. Now then, Director Cosmos, the condensed version of your illustrious testimony, please. Witness testimony. What I saw at the scene. Detective Arm and I rushed towards a boarding lounge together. We went via the control room and peeked in from there to see what was going on inside. We saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor. I hate to say it, but I can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck. I see. So in your testimony you claim you arrived on the scene after the two had escaped from the launch pad to the lounge, and just after the victim had been killed. Oh, the horror, the humanity, but what I said is what I saw, and what I saw is what I said. Courageous action to take in the face of such terrifying explosions, wouldn't you say? To save my men, I went personally into epicenter of danger, risking my own life for theirs. Well, what do you know? Sounds like the director really cares about his men. Yeah, well, it sounds more like he was scared and just had to peek from far away. Is the defense ready to cross-examine a witness? Almost. Let me go ahead and save like I typically do before each cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Director Cosmos' testimony is pretty vague. I'm gonna have to press him and draw out more information before I do anything else. Cross-examination. What I saw at the scene. Okay, he and Detective Arm rushed toward the boarding lounge. They went via the control room and peeked from there to see what was going on. He saw a figure, they saw a figure standing in the middle of the lounge and Terran lying on the floor. He hates to say it, but he can only imagine the standing figure must have been Starbuck.
Hold it!
Aura Blackwell also saw a suspicious figure in the lounge, but she gave the statement that it was too dark to see the person's face clearly. Did you see this person's face, the figure's face clearly? Not clearly. The lighter they were holding illuminated the area around their feet at the time. My audio just went out on my thing, so hopefully that does not impact the video. But other than that, I could see little else. That's why I could see Terran, but I couldn't see who the other person was. So, for all you know, it might not have been Mr. Starbuck, isn't that correct? I would like to believe that. Starbuck isn't the type of man who's capable of murder. When the witness entered the boarding lounge, there was no third person there. Isn't that correct, Great Space Center Director? I'm gonna have to turn on the sound on my TV because I can't hear squat through OBS. Yeah, that's right. Only Starbuck and Terran were there by that time. After we peeked in, the lounge suddenly went dark and the figure vanished. You mean they disappeared? That's odd. The reason the figure appeared to vanish is because it was the defendant. When the witnesses weren't looking, he fell to the floor and feigned unconsciousness. Hold on, Director Cosmos, did you ever take your eyes off that scene? Just for a brief instant, about as long as it takes for a shooting star to go by. If you took your eyes off the scene, then this third person could have escaped during that time. But what escape route could this person have used? The direction opposite the control room, the southern door to the elevators. There's no security lock on that door, so it would have been possible to escape that way. All things are possible, right, Dono? The real question is, Do you have any proof? Well, if we're just talking about possibilities, we could each profess whatever we'd like. An inmate who used to be a university professor and lunar researcher used to say that there is a kingdom of little green men who lived under the surface of the moon. As long as they don't punish us in the name of said moon for whatever we've done to it. But I say, where's your proof that this quaint kingdom exists? He's calling your theory a work of fiction, boss. And he's right. I don't have any proof yet. Still. The southern door was a possible escape route. I better make a mental note of that. Director Cosmos, may I ask you a question? Yes? Why did you look away from the boarding lounge? There's actually another tale of bravery behind the answer to that. It was when Detective Arms saw the figure and raised her gun. Being a great humanitarian and protector of mankind, I tried to stop her. What? You're saying Detective Arms raised her gun as soon as she saw the figure? I imagine her instincts as a detective told her they were the killer. I don't know about that. And were you able to prevent Detective Arms from firing a gun? I'm afraid I was too late. I was unable to stop her. She identified herself clearly and then she fired 2 warning shots at the shadowy figure. This information about Detective Arms' actions sounds critically important. Please add it to your testimony. Yeah, I'm not hearing a single thing from my OBS right now. I do hear the game through my television set right now. I had a similar thing happen during my Tears of the Kingdom playthrough, and luckily the audio recorded that. So if you guys are not hearing any game audio, I sincerely apologize. I'm going to have to look at the footage afterwards, but I at least am confident, especially after what I just said about Tears of the Kingdom, that you guys are able to hear game audio. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots at the figure. Well, I kind of take issue with that by means of this piece of evidence. Are you sure you were really paying attention to what Detective Arm was doing? You doubt my words, words that will someday be written down in history books? Somehow, I don't think that those exact words will ever be written down in any history books. Mr. Ray, could you please explain yourself so we can all understand? You say that Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots, and yet only 1 bullet hole was ever found at the scene. What? Only 1 bullet hole means the gun was only fired once, and yet Director Cosmos is saying Detective Arm fired 2 shots. No editor would allow such a glaring contradiction into a history book. Unfortunately for you, the witness's words are true. We confirmed that 2 shots were fired from Detective Arm's gun. But there was only 1 bullet hole at the scene. Where did the other bullet hole vanish to? Ah! You should know the answer to that already. I should? During the previous trial, a certain oxygen tank was presented as evidence. We already discussed that it was ruptured in the lounge, have we not? Well, it appears that the thing that ruptured it was a bullet. A bullet that was found near the tank, to be precise. This bullet was fired from a .38 caliber gun, the same caliber as the detective's gun. What? Oxygen tank data updated in the court record. The victim's oxygen tank was struck by a bullet. The rifling marks also match up. There's no question that the bullet was fired from Detective Arm's gun. Bullet from Arm's gun added to the court record. The bullet found near the victim's oxygen tank. It was fired from a .38 caliber handgun. Rifling marks? They're like a gun's fingerprints in a bullet, correct? Yeah, we talked about that during the DL6 incident in the first Phoenix Wright game. And examining rifling marks on a bullet can tell us the gun it was fired from. One of the bullets the detective fired found its way into the holographic image display. The other bullet came to a stop near the victim's oxygen tank. The evidence confirms the director's statement that the detective fired 2 shots. My beautiful contradiction. Gone. All gone. So that bullet hole was from a .38 caliber, huh? I better update the record. Bullet hole updated in the court record. The only bullet hole found in the boarding lounge. It was made by a bullet fired from a .38 caliber gun. Very good. Now we know that the fate of both of the shots Detective Arm fired. Mr. Ray, does that clear up all your questions? Let's go ahead and save. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots. One hit the holographic display and the other hit the oxygen tank. Does that really clear up everything what happened at the scene? No, it does not. No, Your Honor, it doesn't. Detective Arm fired 2 warning shots from a .38 caliber gun. But that doesn't explain the existence of a certain piece of evidence found at the scene. A piece that points to the existence of a third person. Oh? Very well, but it won't do to keep us waiting, Mr. Ray. What piece of evidence suggests the possibility of a third person at the scene? Well, what about this? The 10 caliber bullet. And what is this metal pellet supposed to be? Just a little something of great importance we found at the crime scene, Your Honor. You found it where? In the floor gutter at the crime scene. Looks like the police and prosecution both missed it. Furthermore, this is a 10 caliber bullet, making it much smaller than one of Detective Arm's .38 calibers. That means... Exactly. One more person must have been there in the lounge. A third person who had a gun that could fire 10 caliber bullets. And if that's true, it explains why Detective Arm fired warning shots. This third person fired at Detective Arm and Director Cosmos with a gun, and in return the detective fired her warning shots. Isn't that how it really went down, Director Cosmos? It looks like he deduced my miraculous survival. Yes, you're absolutely correct. The mystery person fired upon us. Well, what's this now? What? You never breathed a word of any of this to me before. Well, all great men have a secret or two, don't you know? Just foolish old geezer. So Director Cosmos really has been hiding the presence of third person all along? Director Cosmos, I want you to testify to the court about what you really saw. You may be a very great man, but in my courtroom you are just another witness. You won't receive special treatment here. No, please give accurate testimony. Witness testimony. What I really saw at the scene. Detective Arm and I rushed to the control room together. In the lounge, we saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and tearing on the floor. We were still in the courtroom to the east, the control room rather, when the figure fired at us. Given that there was no third person in the lounge when the witness entered it, does this mean the person who fired the gun had to have been the defendant? Not necessarily. It's still possible there was someone else. Most likely, as soon as Detective Arm and Director Cosmos discovered this person, they escaped through the southern door, the one that didn't have a security lock. Double-edged swords are a tricky lot. Mishandle one and it's you who gets cut down. Huh? Your reasoning could apply to Space Boy with a killer as well. Think about it. After being discovered, he could have fired a 10 caliber gun. Detective Arm would have responded by firing 2 warning shots. All he had to do was feign unconsciousness to invent the possibility of a third person. But Mr. Starbuck didn't have a gun in his possession when he was found by the police, nor has a gun been found at the crime scene. Its absence can only be explained if there was a third party who took it with them. Recall the existence of a trash chute in the boarding lounge. The defendant could have simply thrown the gun down the chute. But you can't deny the possibility of a third person leaving with a weapon. It's up to you to prove that possibility, and I trust you haven't forgotten my little piece of decisive evidence. What evidence? Why, the detonator switch that was found in Mr. Starbuck's pocket, naturally. The most compelling evidence of all that tells us he is the culprit. I did forget all about that. Look, your baldness, how deliciously obvious it is they lack the evidence to rival mine. Wow, he sliced our third person theory to ribbons and served it to us just like that. Yes, well, I have a question of my own, actually. That bullet that mysterious figure shot, what did it hit exactly? It hit me. So does it mean you're a ghost? I was wondering when you would realize it, your baldness. Director Cosmos is an authentic, bona fide ghost. He can even pass through walls. Eek! Prosecutor Blackwell, shame on you for teasing the nice old gentleman. Humph. Your boldness. It was all in jest. Please show yourself again. Well, are you sure? In that case, how did you manage to survive being shot, Director Cosmos? I'm glad you asked. It was a miracle befitting a great history-making figure such as myself. The bullet hit my glorious Medal of Honor, whereby it ricocheted, thus saving my life. What? That's unbelievable. I have to check this out. Oh wow, look at that. There's one extra Gyaxa star. The odds are literally astronomical. Guess it really was a miracle. It's beginning to really feel like the Cosmos is watching out for Director Cosmos. But why did you conceal this information, Director Cosmos? A great man such as myself has to hide things on occasion, no matter how much it hurts. It is the plight of the truly great. It may be hard for this generation to understand. I don't know, but it sounds fishy to me. What else is he hiding? Let's just cross-examine him and see what we can find out. Let's go ahead and save. Now then, Mr. Wright, your cross-examination, please. Cross-examination. What I really saw at the scene. He and Detective Arm rushed to the control room together. In the lounge, they saw a figure standing in the middle of the room and Terran on the floor. They were still in the control room to the east when the figure fired at us. Well, I think I got some evidence here to the contrary. Director Cosmos, I believe you're telling this great court a glorious lie. Great man like me? Tell a lie? Have you ever heard of such a thing in all history? My accusation is based on the positions of the people who were in the lounge. According to your testimony, you and Detective Arm were near the control room door, and the mystery figure is standing in the middle of the boarding lounge. If, as you say, the figure fired a gun at you from this position, then the bullet would have traveled in this direction. However, we found a 10 caliber bullet here. Oh. This trajectory and where the bullet was actually found contradict each other. Director Cosmos, where were you really when you were being shot at? Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the human merry-go-round. Don't tell me you've forgotten already. Didn't the witness himself just tell you? The bullet hit his metal. Of this, there is no mistake. But in that case, the bullet should have been found near the east side of the room. Are you trying to say that you can explain this inconsistency? Of course. I didn't think so. What? Oh, great Director Cosmos? Yes? Is there something you'd like me to expound upon? You were in fact not in the control room to the east, were you? You were looking into the lounge from the door to the south, is that not right? What are you getting at? Use your own brain. Your head must have some use other than housing that bird's nest. Bird's nest? Why does everyone pick on my hair? Director Cosmos and the detective witnessed the scene from the southern door. The killer fired at them there, and that's why the bullet was found in the south. Ah, that makes some sense, actually. Also, the witness being at the southern door is rather favorable for the prosecution. Huh? I've got a bad feeling about this. How about it, Director? If you don't tell the truth this time... Yikes! His handcuffs. You will become but rust upon my sword. I relish the chance to cut down a great man. Alright, I'll tell the truth. Just put your sword away. You are correct. I, the great Yuri Cosmos, was looking into the room from the southern door. What? That's a complete opposite of all the testimony he's given so far. I know you have lost your possibility that a third person was in the room. I have? How? The director and the detective were near the southern door, meaning the killer couldn't have escaped through there. The western door required print recognition. The corridor beyond was filled with smoke. The only escape route left was the eastern control room door. And the only way to get through there was with Director Cosmo's fingerprints. Ah. In short, there would be no escape for any third person had there been one. My third person just disappeared, like in one of Trucy's magic tricks. Order. Order in the court. Director Cosmos, why did you tell such an outrageous lie? You were covering for the defendant. Isn't that right? Yes. It was all for the love of my men. If I said I was in the eastern control room, it would mean the culprit could have escaped through the southern door. It would have meant that there could have been a third person. All I wanted to do was protect Starbuck. I said I was in the control room to invent an escape route for a third person. What a convoluted lie. Was he really covering the defendant? It looks like we've come to a conclusion that the defense's argument, the possibility of a third person, has crumbled. No! It's over. Yikes, the judge is about to hand down his verdict. Think, Phoenix, think. This is a perfect time to try and turn my thinking around. If a third person had no way of escaping the scene, then what if one of the people at the scene was this third person? Wait! What if the whole premise is all wrong? Director Cosmo said that he and Detective Arm rushed to the scene together. But what if that premise isn't true? What if one of them reached the scene before the other one? And if that person entered the lounge, then they would be the third person. The defendant is the only one who could have killed the victim and shot at the director. There doesn't appear to be any room for argument against these claims. I will now render my verdict, and we will end things here. The next time I see you guys, we're going to be seeing what all we can pull out of our sleeve and try to prevent a guilty verdict against our client. But with that, we are going to go ahead and save here. But thank you guys so much for watching this. Hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. I'll be seeing you guys again next time.